Hi and good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Big Idea, voicing what's next in healthcare. Voice of Healthcare's newest mini interview series that aims to feature all the leaders and visionaries from all the walks of healthcare. By this show, we continue to bring to you all that's new in healthcare for all of you who want to stay updated on all the newsworthy developments in healthcare. In this series, since we are on our eighth episode today, and our eminent guests have been continuing to empower you with their inspiring journeys, their inspiring insights and experiences, and also on the disruptions, practices, and trends in the healthcare industry that are worth exploring and worth sharing. Our guest today for this episode is Mr. Abhimanyu Bhosale, who is the co founder and CEO at CrelioHealth, which is a cloud based LIS and RIS solution that enables laboratory staff, doctors, and patients to easily access and manage medical information using the same platform. Welcome, Abhimanyu, to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here. Now, diving in quickly to the series of questions for today. To begin with, let's please start off with the journey of setting up Crelio Health at the first place, especially from you being an engineer and from an engineering background. What was your motivation behind setting up a healthcare startup at the first place? Over to you.
So I think large part of the inspiration has been personal, right? So I'm sure healthcare touches each one of our lives, right? So at some point, we all actually interact with any healthcare institution, whether it's a hospital, lab, clinic, somewhere, right? So and I think overall, we just felt that technology could do so much in healthcare, yet it is so underutilized, and we could see a lot of potential of technology that was not utilized, that we felt we can actually bring that to reality. So that kind of had the initial motivation. And obviously I think the sheer impact that any healthcare institution can have on day-to-day lives of people is such an inspiration in general, that products that you build and solutions that you offer could actually change lives of people. So that was also quite motivating and inspiring for us. So that, I think, together made that decision actually.
Thanks so much for that, Abhimanyu, and thank you for taking us through your journey. Moving on, we'd like to know how is Crelio Health helping people in their medical journeys, and what gaps do you feel yet exist in the healthcare ecosystem, which for sure you aim to fulfill by Crelio Health? Over to you.
So if we really look at the patient journey today, majority of the transactions are paper based, and many a times, like, we've got so many solutions that offer ease of use and ease of booking to transactions to patients, but we have very limited innovation happening on how do you make lives of doctors and healthcare institutions better, right? So how do you make them more productive? How do you reduce operating costs for them? How do you improve their efficiency? And I think that's what we really target towards. We believe that if we are able to impact efficiency or productivity of a doctor or a lab or a clinic institution of healthcare, we end up impacting way more patient lives on a daily basis, as opposed to individual patient experiences, right, over you know any specific platform. So we've always we've always actually looked at a healthcare vision where doctors feel empowered by technology, and they feel their work is reduced so they can spend more time with patients, right? And that's the future we think we all want, where doctors are actually spending more quality time with patients and not really on systems and paperwork and going through a lot of documents. So I think that's really the type of solutions we offer. More specifically, we are in the diagnostics sector. So like we look at diagnostics as the data center equivalent of healthcare, right? So they are the ones generating most amount of clinical decision making data, right? So about 85% of like any procedure decisions or any clinical decisions that are taken today are directly correlated from lab tests. So they depend on lab tests to make that decision. So that means, lab test or diagnostic tests in general basically um, like decide the next course of treatment for you. And we chose to digitize and automate that area because we thought the time to diagnose or time to detect, if that's faster, ultimately it improves the overall turnaround time in healthcare delivery. So more specifically, that's what we do. And today we operate like globally, like US, Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia, and of course, very proudly serving hundreds and thousands of customers in India actually today. So yeah, we serve a wider spectrum of audiences.
Thank you so much for that, Abhimanyu. Moving on. Now, I'm sure that where there is a journey towards setting up a startup and where there's success, it of course has a lot of setbacks and a lot of challenges. In your mission to create seamless healthcare experience from providers to patients, please share your major setbacks you faced initially while starting it up and also how did you overcome them?
Well, I think couple of problems that we've faced like tons of problems, obviously. But if I had to actually handpick a few, which I think most entrepreneurs would feel in this sector, is one is the adoption barrier, right? So there is not much, there is not proactive adoption of new technology. So it's not like having a new app to manage your health that can just be adopted by all doctors, and we've just got like the next phase of digital healthcare revolution or whatever. So that people have been talking about digital health and changing the healthcare system from a technology standpoint for like I think about 20 years, from when I was growing up to where we are today. And but we still see there's not much has changed. And that's our understanding is that's primarily because providers haven't changed. And as long as providers don't change, it's very hard to see real, you know, what do you say, real impact of digitization in healthcare. So I think the biggest challenge we faced, initially and even today, I think, the largest challenge still remains adoption of technology. And we as a company, actually, internally as well as like, from a product standpoint, we've taken a lots of steps to ensure when customers choose to use our solution to when they actually end up using our solution is as shorter as possible. So they're able to start with our products as fast as possible. We also have different tools and insights internally generated to look at adoption curves of people, like interject like slower adopting providers, help them or their staff to understand more about how the solution works. Personalizing it, sometimes it's just giving them some comfort in adopting a new technology, right? Because obviously their core job as healthcare professionals is not to use some software. Their core job is actually to help the patient. So we have to have that kind of mindset and patience to work with them, give them that time to slowly train and adopt new technology. So that has been one of the biggest challenges that we faced today. Well, earlier in our journey, and I think we don't see that changing much. Actually, we still continue to face that kind of friction for any new providers we onboard. And I think second thing that we've seen is like general, like there is a very little interoperability in this industry, right? So softwares don't directly connect and speak with each other. Like today, we would connect our email client with like five other tools, and it's very normal for us. But it's not so normal in healthcare. EMRs, PHRs, or HIS and LIS systems like don't connect or integrate with other solutions out of the box. And often each of those integrations require additional cost, effort, time, and it's not really a pleasant experience for providers. So they end up choosing not to integrate because of costs and other barriers, right? So I think what we've actually focused on since day one is to have a platform that is fully interoperable by design. So you are able to integrate any other software, your own website, a patient app, right from the start, without having to depend on us particularly for integration. You can do it yourself without having to depend on us as a provider or any other provider for that matter to integrate. So open API framework is something that we've always actually had and built around.
Thank you, Abhimanyu, for that. Moving on, we'd now like to know what's next for CrelioHealth. Please share your latest projects your company is working on and what's new.
So I think one of the most successful aspects of what we've built has been the ability to simplify like provider patient relationships. So when any patient actually visits any of our customer labs, they get their own unique login, and same for referring doctors, same for hospitals and corporates that work with labs. So it has always been that ability that the medical records, as well as like whoever needs or whoever should have access to respective records has access to those records as easy as possible. Your insurance company need not have to go through multiple checks and hoops to get your medical record, because that only delays the time for reimbursement in your case. Or same for your physician. So you don't want your physician to get your records like a week later when the relevancy was like yesterday, right? So it's kind of really important that the information exchange is very seamless. And also patients should always have access and ownership of their own records, so they should own and manage their own health records. And that has been the core. um, the next project that we are working on is to bring the patient provider relationship tool that we have in our lab software to other aspects of healthcare, where providers and patients can actually connect online just like they would do on an aggregator platform of any kind today, and have a more deeper relationship or a more connected relationship, entirely digital if required, and manage their journey right from booking to payments to getting their consultation reports or anything directly digitally on the platform. So the idea is basically to make patient experience like really personalized, as well as super simple for healthcare providers. So they're ultimately empowered to give like better experience to patients. And and the byproduct of that is they end up saving a lot of time, because the patients do most of the scheduling and work, and rest everything is automated. So they spend more time with patients. So I think it's a win-win for both.
Thank you, Abhimanyu, and we do look forward to all those. Moving on to the last but not the least segment of this special series, which would be followed by the big idea question. Now, the big idea question for you is, what advice would you like to give to budding techies for expanding into the global healthcare market? Over to you.
So I think one of the most important aspects that people forget in healthcare is that the time to adopt and the effort they would have to put to adopt, because almost always it is seen as something that providers are not complying or helping with. But I don't think it's a provider problem. Um, it's a service provider issue. So they should be spending more time with doctors, helping them. I think instead of focusing on how many clinics or how many labs or how many hospitals are using your solution, they should focus on how many of them are really happy with your solution. How many of them would renew that subscription? How many of them would come back to you again when they have a problem? So how many of them are truly they feel that you have solved an important problem for them? And I think that focus on end-to-end adoption, as well as ensuring that your customers are happy with your product, is really important. So traditionally, running a D2C company or any other type of B2C, B2B company, one would focus as much as getting more sales and more customers. But I think that's not the right model for healthcare. It has to be, in fact, reverse, where they spend more time with initial customers as well as pretty, if possible, and they should design the company in a way that they're able to spend more time with every customer if possible, and that will become the ultimate sales and marketing engine. So if you have happy doctors, they are your biggest sales force than you can ever have. And I think that's a big learning we've had, and I would recommend the same to everybody else, that if you have happy doctors, happy physicians, happy healthcare providers, that would change the game in your market. So for sure.
With that, we mark the end of today's episode. Thank you so much, Abhimanyu, for being here with us and sharing your insightful journeys. And I'm sure that our viewers has a lot to take away from it. And to the viewers, thank you so much for logging in yet today and listening to Abhimanyu and us. Thank you so much, and stay tuned for the next updates. Thank you.